Hi everyone, welcome to I Have a Voice Festival. I'm Nilofer, and with me today are my colleagues Tejaswini and Rachna from Slam Out Loud, and of course our wonderful facilitator Ankita. A quick introduction about Slam Out Loud. We are a not-for-profit organization on a mission to transform socio-emotional learning and arts education for children from underserved communities in India. Please check out our social media to stay updated on our programs, events, and career opportunities. This edition, we're partnering with Give a Foundation and Cartwheel Initiative. There are a bunch of exciting activities and workshops planned every month all the way through October. So keep an eye on our social media platforms for updates. Before we go ahead with introducing Ankita, please take a quick look at the chat box for some quick in-house rules. I hope you have your notepads, pens, papers for writing, beverages, and water. It's going to be a 90-minute workshop. And yeah, let's try to keep it a super fun, inclusive environment here. Ankita Shah is a Mumbai-based poet and co-founder of a local outfit called the Poetry Club. Previously, she was a curator at G5A Foundation for Contemporary Culture. She now works as a creative consultant, developing content for brands. She's also working on a poetry documentation project called Poetry Local to create the biggest video library of regional language poets across India. This is going to be a fun workshop, lots of writing exercises as well. Ankita, over to you.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much, first of all, Slam Out Loud and the entire team for organizing this, for having me here and giving me a chance to share what I have learned in my few years of writing and performing poetry. I'm very glad that I can share some of my experiences and ways of writing with you and help you also in making your first, or maybe not your first, spoken word poem today. I'm Ankita. I'm based out of Bombay, India, and I would love to, get a sense of the room, hear from you all as well, where you're from, what you are looking forward to in this session. But before we get into that, I wanted to, again, get us all talking through an activity that will help you also express some things you like and you are invested in, you spend a lot of time doing, sharing that along with who you are, where you're from. I think that'll help us get a sense of each other and help me particularly to guide you through the session today to express your poems. So we'll jump into it and slowly we'll open up the room. I hope that you can unmute and share your introductions when the time comes. And of course, it'll be great if you can turn your video on so that we all can see each other. It's a spoken word workshop, so a sense of spoken word and performance poetry is for us to be able to communicate with our body, with our faces, with our expressions. So I think the first thing that you that I'd like you to do, and I'd like you to be comfortable with is that so if you can turn on your camera, if you can turn on your video, it's an option in your Zoom screen, that'll be great. Cool, just give me a minute as I share my screen. I hope you all can hear me fine. All right. Cool. So to introduce ourselves and to before we get into the workshop, I want you to think about this, right? Think about two activities that you really like, This could be going to a place, right? This could be going to, let's say school, or it could be going to your grandmother's house, or it could be visiting a place in holidays the experience of which you still remember. It could be something you really like to eat or drink, and it could be a hobby. It could be something you genuinely are passionate about, invest a lot of time in, or want to pursue as a hobby. It could be a time of the day you really like. It could be just that you like afternoons and you like the sun coming through the window, or you like to sit in the evenings and do something, right? So what's your favorite thing? What's your favorite activity? Think about two things that you really like, and we'll talk about it. We'll share it as we do our introductions, giving you all a minute. And I hope that you have a pen and a paper, because we're going to need that throughout the session today. So lots of papers and a notebook, if you can have that handy, and jot it down. Cool. Now I want you to think about one thing that is in common between the two things that you just wrote down, right? So think about what is the feeling that both these things give you. Maybe they both give you joy, they both give you a feeling of happiness, a feeling of inspiration, a feeling of curiosity, or maybe it's just the process of both these things that you find similar. Maybe it requires a lot of patience, it requires a lot of planning, etc., right? Like there could be one thing that's common between these two activities that you really, really like doing. I'll give you an example. I love reading poetry and I love drinking coffee. And when I think about what both these activities make me feel, um, when I read a good poem or I drink a cup of coffee, I feel renewed, I feel inspired, I feel like my day's just started, I feel like I should do something, I should create something, right? So this is what both these activities make me feel. And now think about this in your context and jot down the one common thing between the two. Cool. Okay. Now I'm going to give you an example of how I'm going to introduce myself with this context. And I want all of us to go around the room and introduce ourselves with this context, with this information that we've just written down about ourselves. My name is Ankita. I'm from Mumbai, India. And I love reading poetry and I like drinking coffee, and I feel renewed, inspired each time. I love reading poetry and it's like drinking coffee, and I feel renewed, inspired each time, right? If we can go around the room, unmute yourself and introduce yourself with this. Yes, Anuradha.
Okay. So hello everyone. myself Anuradha. I'm from Faridabad, Haryana, and I really like cooking and reading novels. And the feeling it gives is the feeling of contentment and the joy and pleasure which it gives. So yeah, that's it about myself.
Lovely. Yes, Arya.
Hello everyone, my name is Arya and I'm from Mumbai, India, and I like to sing a song when I am working, and main I like to sing song in rainy season, and I I like to visit a nature place also in rainy season only. Okay?
Okay.
Yes.
And what do both these things make you feel, Arya?
I feel very good, better.
Okay.
Yes.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Okay, can I go next?
Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'm Shaima from New Delhi, India. Two things that I really love doing. It's not There are multiple things, but mainly two things I love enjoying is first, I love growing vegetables of all different kinds. And then second is I love socializing with people, and I watch moon at the night, and then I sit with a diary and write poems. And sometimes two things one thing that is common between growing vegetables and then interacting with people and then writing poems in the night. So through this I express myself much better. So I love expressing myself, and that gives me joy and happiness, that if I can grow vegetables and if I can show some love towards nature, that also brings me joy and happiness. And also love expressing my poems to so many people around me. Yeah, that's all.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shaima. That's lovely.
Can I go next?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, everybody. Good day. I am Neka Angela V. Ombega. I am from Rojas City, Capiz, Philippines. I love reading novels, manga, and especially sleeping and eating. I feel comfortable and relaxed each time I do those things. That's all.
Welcome to the workshop, Nika, Angela. Okay, who do we have next? You can just unmute yourself and go for it.
Okay, I will go. Hi, I'm Priyanka Babbar from Mumbai, India. I love cuddling with my god dog, not godchild, god dog, Spark. It's like a fuzzy feeling of watching the rain, eating hot pakoras with a dear friend. I feel the safety of home and love.
Lovely. Okay, I think we have a few more people to go.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm Raka. I've just joined.
Hi, Raka.
I think something was going on about moon and what activity we do, something like this. Is it like this?
No, so
And
I can explain. I can give you some context. We're
okay,
all introducing ourselves and we're all sharing what are the two things that we really like doing, and what both those things have in common.
okay. The two things that I like. I'm Raka from Dharamshala, Himachal Pradesh, and since I live in the hills, so I love watching mountains and especially the snow-covered mountains. And when it is moonlight, it's always silver, and I love moon always. I keep watching it. The clouds, the sky. I don't know. I feel very much attracted to these things, and I feel that I feel myself connected to everyone through these things. Huh. When I talk to my friend, when I talk to my say relatives or anybody, I normally see. So, do you see the moon? How does it look? So I love it. I think it is the connectivity. It is the oneness. These are the things that make us feel that we all are one. That's all I think.
That's beautiful. Welcome to the workshop, Raka.
Thank you, Priyanka. No, you're not Priyanka, you're Ankita.
Yes. Do you want to go next, Joyce? Mary Hope and Angel Joy, if you can hear us, we'd love to meet you and get to know you a little better before we start the workshop.
Hi, my name is Princess Joyce from Rojas City, Philippines. I love reading books, expressing myself and eating, and it makes me happy and comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary Hope, Angel Joy, if you want to share, it'd be great.
Hello, my name is Mero B. Omega. I like to read books and to watch movies. And I feel satisfied and happy.
Thank you.
Thank you. No surprise that we have a lot of readers in the room. I think one of the things that helps us write better is reading a lot. And as I can see, we're already fond of reading in this group. Cool. I think we have Quincy, we have Angel Joy, but I'm not sure if Quincy, do you want to introduce yourself? Okay. Hi, everyone, to everyone who's joined us just now. Hope you can hear us. We were just going around the room, introducing ourselves and sharing with each other what are the two things that we really like doing and what is common between both. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us where you're from and what are the two things you really like doing.
Quincy, Jessica, do you want to give it a shot?
Hi.
Hi, Quincy.
Hi, my name is Quincy D. De La Cruz. I'm from Barangay Cagayan City, Capiz.
Hi, Quincy. Can you hear us?
Quincy, we're not able to hear you actually.
All right. I think in the interest of time, it'll be great if all of you can type it in the chat. The folks who are not able to, are having connectivity issues or were not able to share with us. We'd love to do a round of intros, say hi to each other, tell us where you're from. Even the ones who've already introduced themselves, I think it would be nice if we can just put our names, where we're from, and what we love to do as hobbies, as things we like to spend time on in the chat group so we know each other a little better. We'll move into the workshop. Today we are here to learn how to write and how to express through spoken word poetry. And I welcome you all to the session. It's amazing that you've chosen to spend some time today to understand this form, understand this this kind of poetry, which particularly it's very special because it allows us to break free from the old forms and structures of poetry that can sometimes be limiting to express ourselves. And spoken word gives us that it's a very accessible form in all ways and kinds, and we learn a little about it today in this session. So welcome to this session. My name is Ankita. I'm going to be a facilitator today, and we're going to broadly explore, listen to some spoken word poems. We're going to watch a few spoken word poems as well. I also write poetry and spoken words, so I'll share some of that as well, and we'll do some writing exercises as we go through it. So please keep a pen, paper, notebook handy with you. Yeah, let's get into it. So before we get into spoken word writing, a little bit about its history, right? And how did we get here? When did spoken word really become relevant to the world? If we go really far back in time, which is where spoken word really starts. It starts in oral traditions, right? In all our cultures and where we come from, we have folk stories, we have epic poems that are written many centuries ago. And these poems and these stories sometimes are about spiritual messages, sometimes they're about cultural expression of that time. And they have been passed on by generations through the art of storytelling, through the art of sharing it in oral storytelling, right? People have sung these verses, they've sung these poems, they've sung these writings that have origins many centuries ago, and that's how it's been passed on to us. That is where the root of spoken word lies, because spoken word in a sense is about telling a story orally, telling a story through words and expressions and rhythm. Of course, in the recent past, the rise of spoken word happened because of certain movements and resistance movements that were happening in the US, which led to almost a break of this form at a very large scale. Come to the recent last 30 years, we've seen what I'm sure some of you may be familiar with. If you are familiar with, you can raise your hand in the chat, or you can raise your hand in the reactions feature. Are you familiar with the idea of poetry slams? Do you know about poetry slams? Have you heard them? Have you seen something on the internet before? Have you gone to a poetry slam yourself? If yes, you can raise your hand or you can put it in the chat box so I know. But poetry slams started somewhere in the 1990s in the US, and very early 2000s is also started in India. And that's also what led to the resurgence almost of this form, when a lot of people started writing spoken word and performing spoken word. Poetry slams is where you go and compete with your poems, right? You perform it on a stage, you perform it to an audience, and you also compete with other people. And the competition obviously is a healthy competition. It's just to encourage people to write and come and perform in front of an audience. So that's broadly the journey of spoken word. But if you look at some of the moments that have sparked it, I think one thing that I wanted to share with you is how spoken word has been a form, a tool for a lot of communities, for a lot of people. This form has been the way that we've expressed ourselves, expressed opinions that are not majority, that don't align with the thinking of the majority. It's been a form that's been used in a lot of protests around the world. So as a form and as a tool, it's always been accessible. It's always been something that a lot of people from all communities and all backgrounds have come to express their strongest, deepest feelings and opinions in. And that's what we're trying to do today. The way that I've also structured this session is for us to be able to express authentically what we feel and share it in this class. So that's a little bit about the rise of spoken word. I want to start off with a poet that almost was significant in this movement in the early 2000s when the spoken word format really broke. Sarah Kay, who is a poet, a spoken word poet, and this particular poem was very instrumental in making this format almost universal, and even reaching India and Asia as a form that when I was back then in school and college, I was introduced to spoken word through her. So I thought this would be a good video. This would be a good introduction to the format to get a sense of what spoken word poetry is. I'm going to play the video and I want you all to watch it, keeping a few things in mind. I want you to think about, of course, the emotions in the poem. I want you to think about the body and the gestures, right? What do you notice? I want you to think about the way the poem is read. Notice the way it is read. Notice the pauses. Notice the lines that or words that have emphasis, that have a stay. Notice the rhythm and the way the poem moves through, and all the other things that stand out for you, right? So just pay attention from that lens as well. And maybe if you want to, you can make notes as well. So I'm just going to play this video for you. This poem's called If I Should Have a Daughter by Sarah K.
If I should have a daughter, instead of mom, she's gonna call me Point B.
Sorry.
My mother.
Just give me 1 minute. I think I pressed the wrong.
If I should have a daughter, instead of mom, she's gonna call me Point B. Because that way she knows that no matter what happens, at least she can always find her way to me. And I'm gonna paint the solar systems on the backs of her hands. So she has to learn the entire universe before she can say, oh, I know that like the back of my hand. And she's gonna learn that this life will hit you hard in the face, wait for you to get back up just so it can kick you in the stomach. But getting the wind knocked out of you is the only way to remind your lungs how much they like the taste of air. There is hurt here that cannot be fixed by band-aids or poetry. So the first time she realizes that Wonder Woman isn't coming, I'll make sure she knows she doesn't have to wear the cape all by herself. Because no matter how wide you stretch your fingers, your hands will always be too small to catch all the pain you want to heal. Believe me, I've tried. And baby, I'll tell her, don't keep your nose up in the air like that. I know that trick. I've done it a million times. You're just smelling for smoke. So you can follow the trail back to a burning house so you can find the boy who lost everything in the fire to see if you can save him. Or else find the boy who lit the fire in the first place to see if you can change him. But I know she will anyway. So instead, I'll always keep an extra supply of chocolate and rain boots nearby because there is no heartbreak that chocolate can't fix. Okay, there's a few heartbreaks that chocolate can't fix, but that's what the rain boots are for, because rain will wash away everything if you let it. I want her to look at the world through the underside of a glass-bottom boat, to look through a microscope at the galaxies that exist on the pinpoint of a human mind, because that's the way my mom taught me, that there'll be days like this, there'll be days like this, my mama said. When you open your hands to catch, I'll wind up with only blisters and bruises. When you step out of the phone booth and try to fly, and the very people you want to save are the ones standing on your cape. When your boots will fill with rain and you'll be up to your knees in disappointment, and those are the very days you have all the more reason to say thank you. Because there's nothing more beautiful than the way the ocean refuses to stop kissing the shoreline, no matter how many times it's sent away. You will put the wind in winsome, lose some. You will put the star in starting over and over. And no matter how many landmines erupt in a minute, be sure your mind lands on the beauty of this funny place called life. And yes, on a scale from 1 to over trusting, I am pretty damn naive, but I want her to know that this world is made out of sugar. It can crumble so easily, but don't be afraid to stick your tongue out and taste it. Baby, I'll tell her, remember your mama is a worrier and your papa is a warrior, and you are the girl with small hands and big eyes who never stops asking for more. Remember that good things come in threes, and so do bad things, and always apologize when you've done something wrong, but don't you ever apologize for the way your eyes refuse to stop shining. Your voice is small, but don't ever stop singing. And when they finally hand you heartache, when they slip war and hatred under your door and offer you handouts on street corners of cynicism and defeat, you tell them that they really ought to meet your mother.
So I want you to, I want you all to think about what we just saw and what we just heard and reflect on a couple of things, right, which I mentioned to you before. What was different about this when you compare it to a written poem? Let's just start with that simple thought, right? We've read poetry, we read even stories, novels, as we discussed at the introduction. We're all familiar with the written poem. What is different between what you read on the page and what we just saw? You can unmute yourselves and share that. You can also type it in the chat box if you feel more comfortable. Yes, Nilofer said that the emphasis on certain words, the rhythm and the cadence of the sentences was very powerful. What else did we notice? And do you all agree that there was emphasis on certain words and there was a rhythm to the poem? How would you describe it?
Anuradha, you can give it a shot.
Okay, so in my opinion, it was more about the body movement, the way she was moving her hands, the gesture, and also the voice modulation. Like she was taking gaps, pauses, and sometimes her voice was very high, sometimes very low. So yeah, that's
correct. That's perfect. That's a great observation. Yes, a lot of you are noticing the intonation in certain parts. There was body language, there was body movement, there was gestures. It's like experiencing what she's talking about. Yes. While she's performing and she's sharing this through her body, she's also becoming, it is a visual experience. Poetry no longer remains about the words that we read on a page. When we watch this video, it is a visual experience, and so it almost feels like we are a part of that experience as audiences when we are watching it. And hence, spoken word can transcend, can cross those boundaries between people and connect us with thoughts and ideas in a far more stronger way than written word or written poetry stories can. So that's a great observation as well. There's a direct connect with the audience and the listeners, and it's also more conversational. So these are some of the parts. See, these are some of the points that you all noticed, and I want to just go a little bit deeper into 2-3 aspects of what we just saw. First, I think the point we were discussing was about gestures and body. This is because this is a spoken word poem and a performance. The essence of spoken word is that you're conveying this live in front of an audience. That audience can be one person, that audience can be this room, that audience can be on a stage, but your poem is being understood by that audience while you are narrating it, right? While you're speaking it. There's very little time for the other person to understand, take all the emotions. They're doing it as you're saying it. And hence, spoken word requires and demands you to be expressive with all of your body, with all of your eyes, in your smile and your gestures, from your hands to how you're moving. You'd have noticed that she was also moving as she was speaking, right? She would turn around when there was a turn in the story. She would turn around to the other side of the audience and introduce that change in the story, right? So your body is moving along with the pace and the emotions of the poem, because you have only this much time and moment to communicate your story to the audience, right? And that's one. That's on the gestures. There was a comment on cadence and rhythm, and how she was giving more emphasis to certain words. Again, a very, very important part of spoken word is, while it is free from meter and very formal structures of poetry that we may have read or studied in school, spoken word still has a rhythm, and that rhythm is the natural rhythm of how we speak, right? It is the rhythm of how we speak. And if you notice, right, when we are having a very emotional conversation with someone, when we are having a very passionate conversation with someone, we do very unconsciously, subconsciously end up paying a lot of emphasis to certain words. We pause at certain moments. We go really fast when we are really excited, or when we are really like, maybe venting out to a friend. We're really angry about something. We'll go really fast, right? Spoken word really mirrors that exact sort of format and rhythm of how we speak when we are at our emotional peaks. And that's what she's doing. That's where the intonation, the cadence, and the rhythm that you notice in her performance comes from. If you see that when she's really expressing something that is a wish, that I wish she would be like this, she would be like this, and she would come to know that maybe the world is not all heartbreaks can be fixed with chocolate. There's a moment of pause, right? Because she wants us to take that in. So spoken word mirrors the rhythm and the way that we pause, and the way that we use space in our conversations, in our moments of expression. In the same way as we do there, we use the same sort of cadences when we are performing a spoken word piece. That is why it's called spoken word. That is why it is inspired from the natural rhythms of how we speak. The third thing that I think was also pointed out was it's more conversational, there is a direct connect, and we're able to experience what she's talking about. This goes back to, again, the point about using your body as the performance medium, and using gestures to express what you're saying, using your facial expressions to express what you're saying in a way that what we feel when we are watching this video is that Sarah K is almost reliving this entire experience having written this poem, right? And that's what it brings onto this page. I think there is some disturbance. Yes. Some hidden things that were there in the poem. While spoken word does not follow a rhyme and meter, I don't know if anyone noticed, there were some phrases, there were some parts where sentences turned into and were hiding some rhymes, right? Like she says, win some, lose some. Or she says she puts the wind in the win some, lose some. There is a rhythm and there is obviously a natural rhyme hidden there, which adds to the musicality of the poem as we listen to it. So there are some moments in spoken word like that where you can add rhyme and rhythm, but the good thing is that you can add it in the way that you feel like, and there is no formal structure that you need to adhere to. Cool. I want to show you one more poem. I wanted to share a poem of my own that I've written and performed, and I prefer sharing a recorded version because I feel like it will do more justice than performing it now, which I can probably at the end of the session again. But I want to just play a recorded version so you're able to again see the gestures, the body language, and notice a few more things that we'll talk about. So this is a poem I wrote and performed some years ago. It's called Borders. And I'm just going to play it for you. Again, notice similar things, but I want you to point out one or two new moments, new elements that you notice here that we have not discussed or we've not spoken about yet. Last time. There are borders made of tall cement walls, relentless mountains, and wayfaring rivers that have tasted blood. Borders made of armed men, dead, alive, forgotten. Borders made of distorted religions, borders sharp as swords that have cut limbs and breasts and children. Borders that we create everywhere we go, like self-proclaimed universes in comfort zones. We're drawing borders on mind and soul, dropping bombs on ideals. We bemoan narrating people who won't conform until they fear even the sight of a shooting star. We create borders arguing over truths, unmindful that truth comes from the word tree. And the last time I checked, we had more than one kind, but we aren't kind enough to listen to a story that does not resemble us. Instead, we create borders over and over, like drawing so many lines that look like horizons stacked up one over the other. We are a world that raises walls around it each time a light wants to enter. We're a world that wants the dusk to fall soon, so more bombs can be dropped and some more dreams may be shot. The border between India and Nepal is only a divider. Few armed soldiers and a signboard. But in school, no blackboard could subdue the curiosity over my small eyes. My name was instantly replaced by Nepali. That with stone and abuse I had to survive. These borders continue to divide two sides that are no different from each other.
If you drop this facade of courage, we'll see our borders are made of fear. Each direction you look, you'll see horizons. It says, this is how far you can see if you stand right here at the same place. But if you move forward, you'll see a little more of what seemed beyond the end of your vision. And you know it doesn't look any different than you. Aren't you beyond the horizon? Someone else too.
So I wanted to talk about two things which I'm looking for if you noticed in this poem. So I'm just going to give a couple of minutes for you to think about the poem that you just heard and what was standing out for you in this poem. Okay, I'm going to give you a cue. Did you see something repeating constantly through the video, through the poem? And what was that? So one of the tactics of spoken word, one of the tools when you write a spoken word poem, and this goes back to the previous piece that we heard as well, right? We're talking about cadence and rhythm. One of the tools and hacks that you can use when you're writing a poem is the repetition of the same word to bring the audience back every time to the point that you're trying to make. So the phrase that I repeat in this poem is, there are borders that are made of this and that. There are borders. And I go on to talk about the different types of borders that we all experience in our lives, the metaphorical ones, the real ones, the ones that are created by society. But the phrase borders and there are borders keeps on repeating. And this helps because in a spoken word poem, like we just discussed, there's very little time for your audience to understand what you want to say. They're not sitting with the poem and going back home and going to reread it again and going to like spend time with it. They're going to listen to you live. And so repeating the main theme of your poem in a way that is interesting, in a way that adds rhythm to it. Naturally, it adds rhythm because I'm going to repeat that word at the beginning or end of every sentence. That is called repetition. It has a very simple literal name and it's used in poetry at large, but it adds a lot of musicality when you use it in a spoken word piece. And it also helps you to convey and bring the audience back to the one thing that you want them to focus on, right? That was one point that I wanted you to notice. The second thing that I wanted you to notice, which was also there in the Sara K poem, is something called a breath unit, right? Now, in a spoken word poem, a very interesting thing you can do when you're performing a spoken word to control and to give an effect of a heightened effect or an emphasis that you want to give to something that you've written. You put together a lot of words in one breath unit, right? Like, so imagine a breath is a pause, right? Every breath you take is a pause that you give in a poem. And there was one line in the poem, maybe, I don't know if I can go back and play it, but there was one or two lines in this poem, in the previous poem, where the poet will, even though it's a long line and it's probably many, many words, they don't take a breath till they have finished that sentence that they want to say, or those 2-3 many sentences that they want to say. What this does is that it emphasizes, it gives it a sense of urgency. It's like when you're running out of breath, but you have to finish your point. You're making a point, and the point is so important that the breath will come after it, right? that is called a breath unit in spoken word, and it plays a beautiful role in making your poems and the way you read it out feel more urgent. It adds that emotional urgency that is needed in your poem. So you can play when you're reading, when you're practicing your spoken word, and some of the things we'll write today. You can play with this idea of a breath unit and try it, read it aloud and try it, and see which lines need that focus, that urgency, so that you can fit all of it into one single breath and read it out like that. Usually also seen when the poem is ending. Yes, correct. It adds a great sense of emphasis, urgency, and almost like a punch at the end, that this is what you really had to convey before you close. So these two things I wanted to also point out in the two poems that we saw. And with this, I want to move to the first activity, first writing exercise that we have, which will form the basis of our session today. So we're going to work with this material in this session. So I have a very interesting cue that I want to give you, which I hope that you will enjoy thinking about in writing. Get your pens, papers, and your writing material. Bring that close to you, and you can just make a note of this. Sorry. Cool. So this is the activity. The activity is called I Believe, right? It's very simple. You are going to write 10 things that you strongly believe in. Now, these things don't need to be facts. They should not be facts. It should not be the sun rises in the east, or I go to school at 5 a.m. every morning, or whatever. Like you're not writing facts. You're writing things that you think are true, or that you would want to be true, right? Imagine it's your world. Imagine it is your world, and you are writing 10 things, 10 rules, 10 truths of this world, right? And every sentence, every truth has to start with I believe. And this phrase is going to give you that repetition, that rhythm that we were talking about earlier. You can write more than 10 also, but at least try to come up with 10 such things that you strongly believe in. It can be big, small, something that truly matters to you, and maybe no one in the world has thought about it. It's completely fine. You can go as wild as you can. Here are some examples, right, to give you some direction of what it could be. I believe that the first song ever sung on earth was by a bird. I believe that my mother is the most beautiful woman in the world. I believe that dreams are just a way our mind is talking back to us. I believe that every time a child laughs, a new star is born in the sky, right? Do we know this is true? I don't think any one of us can confirm these things, but it's a world that we are conjuring. And I want all of you, each of you, to do this for yourself and write 10 things that you strongly, strongly, strongly believe in. At this point, do not think too much about where this is going. Is this a poem? Does it have rhyme, etc.? If it comes naturally, great, but just follow two basic rules, 10 things, each of those that you believe in, and you have to start with the word I believe, right? We can take 10 minutes to write this down. And Tejaswini, if we want to do a breakout room now, we can. In case anyone has questions, I'm happy to just address that as well.
Ankita, my question is, do these 10 things have to be related, can be related, or are
related? They can be related, but they needn't be related. It's not necessary to it, but if they are related, that's also great.
I have made some breakout rooms to join them. Angel Joy, Quincy, Princess Joyce, everyone else. I think you've been assigned the rooms.
Hi, could you share the page of the examples of the I Believe Bala?
How's it going? If anyone is stuck anywhere or you have questions, you can ask me, you can put it in the chat, or you can just unmute your mic and ask. I'd be happy to help. And if you're done and you're just waiting for others to finish, you can use this time to take a quick break, get yourself some water or whatever. You can take a 5-minute break and we can resume back at in 5 minutes. I'm assuming time difference exists here. So in 5 minutes, we can come back to the exercise and discuss what to do next.
Also, friends, I think the workshop will go on till 5 o'clock. So you guys like take the break whenever right now and get yourself some water, walk around a little bit, and come back.
Raka has also shared her draft with us, which is beautiful, and I think it can give everyone some direction of where this can go. You can read it in the chat. Cool. We'll resume in like 2 minutes. We'll resume in 2 minutes. All right, cool. Is everyone back to wherever they are, to their devices, back to this session? All right, I'm gonna assume that it's a yes, unless we can get everyone else up to speed with what they miss. This is the first exercise. You all will now have a draft with you of these 10 things that you strongly believe in. Raka has already shared hers in the chat box. We will, at the end of the session, read out, some of us will read out what we wrote. Before we do that, before we get there, I wanted us to now go back to some of the things we discussed and we noticed in the poems we heard, right? And I want you to pay attention to 4 things and look at your poem for each of these 4 things. We'll go one by one and we'll spend like 2 to 5 minutes on each of these things. And I want you to have your draft and your list in front of you. It will require a little bit of editing, right? Now, the first thing that I want you to do is go through this list of 10 and find one common thread that you can see between all 10 of them, right? And that common thread can be something that you want to say, something that you feel that ties this together, or a bigger theme that you notice emerging from your list. And as you do this, right, feel free to move your pieces up or down. Feel free to change the order of your 10 items so that it conveys what you want to. Yeah, we're just doing this to identify if there is a central theme. Even if there is no theme and you're not able to tie it all together, that's also okay. Maybe this theme can be the title of your piece. Maybe it just helps you in reordering your list. Romel, thank you so much for sharing your piece in the chat. I would just suggest you to add "I believe" at the beginning of every line and every statement that you have written down. Just add "I believe." People need food to survive. I believe God is good all the time. I believe animal is animal. If you can add this phrase, it helps build a repetition and a natural rhythm in your piece. Oh, okay. Okay, then we'll try to cover as much faster. Yes, you can add the title "I believe," or in your case, Raka, I'm just looking at the poem that you shared. I think your last line, this is my suggestion, and you're free to discard it. Your last line, I believe that we are far more capable than we think ourselves to be, is a feeling of possibility, right? It's a feeling of confidence, it's a feeling of possibility, a feeling of ambition. So maybe that is the title, or that is the theme that you want to look at your piece with that lens, if that resonates with you. Cool. The second thing that I want you to attempt to do with what you have right now is look at rhythm and rhyme, right? Rhyming is a very simple exercise that we all probably have learned back in our childhood when we were learning songs, when we were learning poetry and rhymes. In your current piece, look at the ends of sentences, look at the middle of sentences and words that you've used. Do you see the possibility of adding rhymes? And if you do, then what are some of the rhymes that you can think of? Again, not something that you need to do, but just look at your piece with that lens and add a rhyme wherever you think it fits. And the last thing that I want you to do, which I'll share in a minute, the last thing that I want you to do is very simple. Again, just look at the piece and underline the parts want to emphasize. These could be words, these could be phrases, these could be a whole point in itself that you feel is the most important thing that you're saying in this. And they could be multiple. You can just underline them or highlight them in whatever you're comfortable with. These are the words, these are the phrases. When you read out your piece, you're going to pay more emphasis. And that emphasis can be a pause. That emphasis can be a whole breath unit, so you can read it really fast, right? You can play around with it, but underlining it will help you identify what you want your audience to also notice in your poem. Yes. Yes, Raka, that can be the title also to your piece. I can see some really, really heartfelt notes that are being shared in the chat. And I want you to hold on to it because I really would love for some of us to go around and read out as well. I think they'll just be more powerful when they're read out. Cool. I want to just open the floor now, and you've paid attention at three things. You've written a set of 10 things you strongly believe in. There is already repetition in the poem because you're using the word I believe. That adds a natural rhythm, right? These are stories and feelings that you truly believe in, which is very important to any piece of writing. It's authentic, it's your story, it's your perspective. 3, I asked you to also look at possibilities of rhyme. If there are rhyme opportunities in your poem, no harm playing around a little with words and inserting them or repeating some words to add an effect. You also arranged your list, hopefully, or at least numbered them in a way that you'd like to see it progress in. Maybe you also found a title. We can together jam on what your poem can be titled. And the last thing that we did is we underlined the bits that we need to pay emphasis to when we are reading out, right? And now I want, I would really love if a few of us could unmute our mics. I can see you've written some beautiful lines. It'll be great if we can actually perform and actually read it out, because that's the sense of spoken word. We'd love to experience it in your words, with your expressions. 2 things to keep in mind. Please try to put your video camera on so we can see you. And intonation as you're reading it out. Imagine we're all your friends. We're all friends and family. And the most important thing about spoken word is to express it as if you're having a passionate conversation. That is truly what it is. And that will bring all the natural emotions that need to come in and the pacing that needs to come in, right? So just keep these 2 things in mind. And if we can have like volunteers, if we can have folks who want to or would like to read one by one, we can go around the room and listen to some of the poems that have been written. Yes. Nika, Angela, yes, it can start with I believe. Even if you're rhyming your sentences, it can start with I believe. Do you want to go first? Neka, Angela, do you want to go first? Because I can see you shared a piece in the chat as well. Okay. I'm not sure the name of the person behind Vivo V2120, but they've also shared a beautiful piece in the chat. So if you want to unmute yourself and put your video on and share this piece if you're comfortable. Okay, you're too shy to do that. All right. Then do you want to just publish your piece in the chat? Angel, do you want to? Yeah, if you want to read it out, that'll be great. Angel, I think you're not connected to your mic. So Princess Joyce, Anuradha, Mary Hope. Do you want to go for it?
It's a very small group. We don't have to be so shy. It's just us.
Hi, can I go?
Yeah.
So I'm unable to make it rhyme, but I'll just go. Okay.
That's okay. Anuradha, do you mind putting your video on, if that's possible?
Okay.
Great.
Okay. I believe that giving a smile to a stranger will make them believe that the world is less cruel. I believe that that all the hopeless romantics are the prettiest folks on universe. I believe that love has no gender. I believe writing text should be replaced with the handwritten letters. I believe reading a 400-page novel in 3 days is an usual thing. I believe sleeping is the best activity. I believe moon and sun are the best creation of God. I believe gifting yourself a flower each week is must. I believe, I believe black is a seraphic color. I believe Khalid Hussain is best writer. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
This was
Thank
really
you.
lovely, Anuradha. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anuradha, for sharing. Do we have, folks, it'll be great if we can unmute and respond to the poems as well, what we liked in the poem, and encourage each other to read as well. Nika, Angela, if you're there.
Hi.
Hi.
Am I heard?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
I'm also not able to make it all rhyme, but I will try. I believe that being thankful in what you have can make you truly happy anytime. I believe that feeling pain is living. I believe that my dad is the kindest and most compassionate person in the whole world. I believe that sunflower is the most beautiful flower in the whole world. I believe that color blue is the most attractive color. I believe in trusting others until given a reason not to. I believe that if you do good to others, it will come back to you too. I believe that everyone deserves to be loved. I believe that true friends are the one who will stay with you even in hardships. And I believe that nightmares are our warnings in life.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think it was beautiful. My favorite line was, I believe that pain is a sign of living, right? That's what you wrote. And we don't have to try to make it rhyme. I think the rhyming was just if you're feeling playful with the poem and you want to play with words, that's something that you can do, but you don't need to rhyme a spoken word piece.
I did try to rhyme it, and I managed only 4 sentences in that. The rest will take more time, but I'll just share the first one.
Yes.
I believe that we have been born to ultimately die. So let's just kill time in between doing the things we love and not lie. Not to others, but especially not to ourselves. Hopefully, make this world a little more bearable for these bodies seemingly on shelves.
Lovely.
Did you think of a title for this?
My all of my 10 sentences, okay, 8 of my 10 sentences were cynical. So my title is Mankind Sucks.
Okay, all right. Angel, do you want to go next?
Angel, go for it. Give it a shot. There are two angels actually. I just realized that.
I believe that I am a strong person whatever life throws at me. I believe that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I believe that if you choose your own peace, you will find your true happiness. I believe that if you are going to believe in yourself, nothing is impossible.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Angel.
Nothing is impossible. I believe that true queens is not only determined by the crown on her head or the sash traversing her shoulders. I believe that I am going to be a successful person. I believe that if you give kindness, you will get kindness. I believe that I will get the future that I promise for myself. I believe that no matter how hard the life is, God provides, always and in always.
That's beautiful, Angel. Thank you so much.
I just love the hope and joy in everyone's poems, all of you. I love it.
Vivo, are you ready? Also, what's your name?
Raka, do you want to go next?
You're on mute. You're on mute.
I believe that helping others makes us happy. I believe that the first flower that bloomed on this earth is still the most beautiful one. I believe that heart beats for love only. I believe that girls are stronger. I believe that being a mother for the first time is the most greatest feeling on this earth. I believe that mothers are mad for their children always. I believe that nature loves us more than we do. I believe that we lose our hearts to the smiles of small children. I believe that looking at the sky or looking at the landscapes turns our sad moods into happy ones. I believe that we are far more capable than we think ourselves to be. I believe that we put limitations to ourselves by ourselves only. And the sentence that I loved, that I believe that pain is a sign of living. I believe that sickness is a sign of living. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Raka. That was lovely. That was beautiful. Mary Hope, are you ready?
Yes.
Amazing.
Hello, these are the things I believe in. I believe that green is the most beautiful color. I believe that museum is the gallery of the past. I believe that saying sorry and thank you is a sign of being a good man. I believe that my friend is the most affectionate person. I believe that eating an ice cream helps almost everything. I believe that life is a circus. I believe that taking naps can help take your minds off things. I believe that Dokcha is the prettiest manhwa character. I believe that age is just a number. And I believe that saying thank you is a valid response to I love you. Thank you.
So beautiful. I loved your last line. Saying thank you is a valid response to I love you. Beautiful. I want to we have like 5 minutes to the workshop, to close the workshop, and I just wanted to open the floor and um, ask you all ask you all for any questions, ask you all for anything that you want to understand better, would like to know, that I can help cover in the last 5 to 6 minutes that we have. Again, unmute yourself or put it in the chat box.
Also, like, since this is our last 5 to 10 minutes, let's like try to come on camera if possible, so we can interact with each other as well. Mary Hope, Anuradha, Eka, Angel, Princess, Vivo. Thank you. Just 5 minutes.
I know the time. Yeah, I know the time is not sufficient to cover everything. Okay, yes, you can, Vivo. Please go ahead.
The 10 things I believe. I believe that there's only one God. I believe that there's heaven and hell that is created by God. I believe that we are all existed because of the existence of God. I believe all people has different mission. I believe that the pain is a part of our mission. I believe that the suffer we have are part of our success. I believe that hardships is our trainer to make us stronger. And I believe that reading can make us wiser. And I believe that love can help us to make our life more stronger. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Also, what is your name if I don't like is it Vivo?
All right. Thank you so much, folks, for joining and for showing interest and spending time trying to learn and write your own spoken word. I wanted to show one video at the if we have 5 more minutes, Tejaswini, I wanted to show one video that will help put this exercise in context and give you all an example of a spoken word piece that is very similar to what you all just attempted today. And probably it can be an inspiration to add a little more details to a poem, to how you would want to perform this, if you want to perform it in front of an audience or in front of your friends or family. So I'll move to that piece, but before that, if there are any questions, any last thoughts that you want to share with the rest of the group, we'd love to hear.
Also, one thing, I'll be sharing a feedback form on the chat. So like once you're all set, just like fill it up. But also, since everybody wrote such lovely poems today, we'll be sharing, like we'll be emailing you a submission form. And if possible, just write whatever you wrote on the chat box on a piece of paper, take a photograph and like upload it there, because we would love to have it with us. It was really, really wholesome. So yeah, we'll email it to you after this session gets over.
So this is another poet very popular in the spoken word circuit, Rudy Francisco. You should look him up and discover more poems by him. This is one piece that we will all connect with a lot today.
A few things I strongly believe. I believe sour apple flavored anything is delicious. I believe orange juice tastes better with pulp. I believe Cinnabon is made by angels. I like Arizona iced tea, but 24 ounces of anything for $1 is probably poison. Bro. I believe masculinity is a wet fish that most men are just trying to hold on to. And smiling before a fight is the quickest way to make your opponent nervous. I believe music is easier to digest than medicine. I believe a good song can turn any room into a church. I believe that Whitney Houston's voice is all the proof I need to know God exists. Thank you.
So this is the conviction that I want you all to take away from the reading, right? Like, I think the conviction with which he said all the things he believes in, they're all sort of similar to what we shared today. When you're sharing this, when you're reading this, when you're performing this, it's this confidence, it's this conviction, it's this owning what you have written that I want you to take away from this video and from this inspiration as well. Thank you so much for attending, and please share your feedback as well. I'd love to know what I could have done better in the session as well. And feel free to, I'd also love to have some of these poems shared. So Tejaswini, whenever you get the list, please share them with me.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ankita. It was a very, very wholesome session. I really loved it. I'm sure everybody else also did. So yeah, thank you so much. I'll send you all the submission that you receive for sure.
Thanks everyone for joining and making the time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.